You're driving home late, exhausted, and something flickers at the edge of your vision. A light that isn't quite there when you turn to look. You blame tired eyes and keep driving. But the real answer is far stranger. In 1944, hundreds of trained military pilots reported the exact same kind of impossible light night after night, over entirely different battlefields, and the strangest explanation for it was never aliens at all. They called them Foo Fighters, small glowing orbs, sometimes orange, sometimes silver-white, that trailed Allied bombers over Germany at night. They matched speed with the aircraft. They hovered. They vanished the instant a pilot tried to engage them. What made this genuinely strange wasn't just the sightings. It was who was reporting them. Experienced night fighter crews, radar operators, and bomber pilots, trained specifically to distinguish real threats from tricks of the eye, all describing nearly identical phenomena independently, on different nights, over different countries. Command took it seriously enough to investigate as a possible German secret weapon. Nothing was ever found. No wreckage. No weapon. No confirmed technology on either side that matched the descriptions. And here's the detail almost nobody mentions. German and Japanese pilots reported seeing the very same lights, trailing their own aircraft. Whatever this was, it wasn't a weapon built by either side to use against the other. The Harvard astronomer Donald Menzel spent years afterward building physical explanations for exactly this category of wartime sighting. He pointed to something real and already understood by physicists, a phenomenon called corona discharge, commonly known as St. Elmo's fire. When an aircraft flies through a charged atmosphere, especially at altitude in cold, electrically active air, static buildup around metal surfaces and propellers can ionize the surrounding air into a visible glow. Add engine exhaust, ionized by heat and friction, and you get exactly the kind of drifting, pulsing light pilots described, one that could plausibly seem to chase a plane simply because it was forming on the plane itself. That explains the light. It doesn't fully explain the consistency of the story pilots told about it, the sense that it was deliberately following them, watching, almost intelligent. For that, you need a second piece entirely, and this one lives inside the pilot, not the sky. The astronomer J. Allen Hynek, who later served as the scientific consultant to the U.S. Air Force's official investigation into aerial phenomena, reviewed thousands of reports across decades of military sightings. A striking pattern emerged. The overwhelming majority traced back to a small handful of ordinary causes: misidentified aircraft, atmospheric optical effects, and crucially, the physiological state of exhausted observers straining to watch empty sky for hours in the dark. Hynek didn't dismiss the witnesses. He took their sincerity seriously. He simply found that sincerity and accuracy aren't the same thing, especially at 3 a.m, 30,000 feet up, in a plane that might get shot down any minute. That physiological detail matters more than it sounds. Bomber crews in 1944 routinely flew missions after 18 or more hours awake, running on adrenaline, cold, oxygen deprivation, and constant fear. Decades later, the sleep researcher Ian Oswald ran controlled studies on prolonged wakefulness and found something remarkable. Past a certain point of sleep deprivation, the brain begins inserting brief, involuntary dreamlike fragments directly into ordinary waking vision, often as small moving lights or shapes at the edge of sight. Your brain, deprived of the rest it needs, doesn't shut off. It starts leaking. So here is the twist. The strangest explanation for Foo Fighters was never a secret aircraft or a visitor from somewhere else. It was that two entirely real, entirely explainable systems collided by accident. Genuine atmospheric electricity was producing real glowing light around the planes, exactly as Menzel proposed. And exhausted, hypervigilant brains, exactly as Oswald's research predicted, were primed to interpret any ambiguous light as something following, something with intention, because a threat-scanning brain under that much stress does not process light neutrally. It searches for meaning in it, every single time. Think about what that means for the flicker you noticed on your own drive home. Your brain wasn't malfunctioning. It was running the same ancient threat detection software those pilots were running, scaled down to a much smaller kind of exhaustion. A tired brain doesn't see less. It sees more, filling gaps with pattern and motion your rested mind would have quietly ignored. This is why the Foo Fighters sightings never needed a cover-up to stay unsolved. The real explanation was simply too ordinary sounding for how extraordinary the reports felt to the people living them. Static electricity and sleep deprivation don't feel like a satisfying answer to men who watched a glowing orb match their exact airspeed for 10 straight minutes. But feeling unsatisfying was never proof it was wrong. You're driving home late, exhausted, and something flickers at the edge of your vision. And now you know exactly what that flicker really is. It was never a light chasing you. It was your own tired mind, running the oldest program it has insisting that something out there in the dark deserves your full attention.